The Universal Group, Vlad Productions presents the film by Vlad Путешествующий, The Secret, Reboot. The real state of things, or what helps to change our destiny and ability to manage it. The mystery will always remain a mystery, otherwise it loses all meaning, its purpose. And only the chosen people always will be able to leave the certain of this mystery to use it in their own interests. How to become a chosen, narrated in this movie. Quote from the movie The Secret.
What you think and what you feel and what manifests is always a match. Every single time, no exception.
End quote. Hello, my name is Vlad Путешествующий. I am an ordinary person, the same as all. My only difference is that my heart is running at only 45 beats per minute at rest. But I am perfect to exist and enjoy life along with all. On this basis, I have some very powerful, extraordinary abilities. I'm not a wizard, not a magician, and especially not a participant in the psychic challenge. But I can travel from the region of limited awareness in the area of unlimited consciousness. I am able to move in external environment and feel everything that is happening in the world by energetical flows. Most of us have seen the movie The Secret. The film which certainly changed the minds of many of you. The Secret speaks about the real facts and reflects the reality, and all the stories is real. But the film says about our purpose, and it's important. However, in all the narratives of others, there is no any specifics. How to implement the things discussed in the film. I will tell you about the real state of things and flesh out all general concepts. What does it mean? The film invites us to perceive positive emotions, feelings and their generation. The filmmakers insist that the world is filled with all the good and positive, and that is what we all need to think and dream. But at the same time, in the beginning of the film sounds the following strong statement. Quote from the movie The Secret.
Why do you think that 1% of the population earns around 96% of all the money that's being earned? Do you think that's an accident? It's no accident.
End quote. Yes, indeed, this is not an accident, it's regularity. These people do not understand anything incredible. These people are just able to control their destiny on a subconscious level of unlimited consciousness. They do everything as usual and are not even aware that controls of their own destiny. The result depends on their sensitive and emotional conscious. The question arises, if there are so many positive and kind things, why such injustice? Why the 99% of the population accounts for only 4% of all the earthly riches, and everything else gets only 1% of the population? The fact is that our world exists just like the Lord or the base made it. The base is the term I will use in the future. Quote from the movie The Secret.
What most people don't understand is a thought has a frequency. Every thought has a frequency.
End quote. In the world of bioenergy flows is no positive or negative flows, and links educated them. Bioenergy is exactly what happens to your thoughts and emotions. Bioenergy flows that develop in our minds are of two types. They are just opposite to each other in content, and there is not any pros and cons. The pros and cons are conventions invented by physicists to include in verbal perception. There are just some kinds of flows, and there are just other threads. They are just opposite to each other, and it's all. In this case, everything just simple. For some people, the realizing that Barcelona beat Juventus in the Champions League is a very positive emotion, and for some people, it's reason for suicide. What is good and what is bad is the subject of only a personal perception of each of us in the field of his limited consciousness. And here, not so simple. Of course, there is a huge amount of emotions in the same for all according to their contents. For example, that football is all well and good, or that war is bad, or that to kill a man, that is a terrible sin, but to save one human life means to save the whole world, as written in Torah. And it's true, it is also common in conventional understanding, and so on. If you take the total number of emotions, the same perceived by human, and to be divided into good or bad, good emotions will be 3 times less in a percentage, and this is expressed as follows. Bad emotions 75%. Good emotions, 25%. Yes, this is the way our world is. Bad emotions in their common perception much more, 3 times. Think of what you enter in those 99% of the entire population of the planet at stake, which accounts for only 4% of the earthly resources. I don't think it inspires you to positive emotions. Now try to remember what good things happened in your life lately. Remember? Absolutely correct. Next, do nothing. Now think of what bad happened. Or let's say not very bad and that is not wanted. What would happen? Yes, this is remembered much more and faster. Exactly, this might be for you, paradoxically. But all the bad things in your memory is on its surface, and all good is quickly forgotten. You often can't even remember this. The fact that we are created in likeness of God. Indeed it is. In principle, our capacity is not limited. We exist on the earth with a specific intended purpose for us. We have a mission, and we're certainly feasible, because so planned base, the Lord God, and there really will be the so-called Second Coming and the so-called Doomsday. We will fulfill our mission as God's representative on earth. Number of us will go to the people of God. This is so-called paradise. Someone's external environment, the so-called soul, will be destroyed. This is hell. Someone's soul will fall to the base warehouse, waiting for the further fate, and someone will take in a different world to run another mission. The Lord God created us so much as Himself, with the same potential, but He is also intentionally divided our consciousness into two parts. This separation of the base limited our consciousness in the field of perception, 5 of our senses, to a bare minimum. And this minimum is called the scope of limited consciousness. And so, the first part is the scope of our limited consciousness. It is our senses. There are 5: hearing, sight, smell, taste, and touch. This is all that is managed in our limited scope of consciousness, and is quite enough for normal and full life. But the 6th sense is what we surely have, but we can't understand it, feel it, and manage it. And all this is because it is in the sphere of unlimited consciousness that is neither as our control. The base is intentionally limited our consciousness. That would strengthen the unity and struggle of opposites of our emotions. In this lies the whole secret. How to manage our intuitive feeling, 6th sense, intuition, which we do not control, where to find these reins, and what kind of strings should we pull in the scope of limited consciousness, how to use our senses to control what we can't really feel, but just understand that we have it and it somehow works. Explaining the scope of intuitive perception and influence, telepathy, I always use the so-called effect of pitch. Very often this situation is that you meet a brand new person, a stranger to you. For example, your boss brought a new employee in your department and submitted it, saying that it was Stepan and he will now be working together with you. Stepan looks young, beautiful, well-groomed and tastefully dressed boy, but seeing him, something jolted inside you. You don't know why, but after you've seen this man, you have dislike for him, and you can't explain why this is so. Stepan is pretty, looks good, but for some reason, as people say, it's a poisoned man. For some reason, you don't like this man. It is intuitive, at the level of telepathic perception of that person. You somehow felt that he was not comfortable for you. But how did you feel that? You can't explain even to yourself, not to mention others. But Stepan will work in your department, all the time will be near you, at all times, and will communicate with you. What you will do in this case, that is the question. Imagine another situation. On flawlessly, elegantly decorated table in the restaurant, you saw a beautiful crystal vase, filled to the brim with ripe velvety peaches. Your mouth immediately filled with saliva from a great desire to eat at least one of these peaches. You reach out and, in waiting to feel the unique long-awaited taste of peach, hold it to your mouth. Open your mouth, but here you see what is on the other side, where you now to take a bite of the peach. It's all rotten, and there got out the worm. Your actions? You see danger. You know that the taste is disgusting, and that the absorption of this peach is dangerous to your health. And so, you immediately remove the peach from your mouth and throw it in the trash. In the area of limited consciousness, your sense, namely vision, caught the danger of rot and worm. Immediately, automatically, turn on your subconsciousness logic, and you have committed an act that has shielded you from this danger. You threw a peach. And now back to Stepan, whose presence has created some discomfort in your state. You, on the intuitive level, which you are not in control, felt a danger from that person. But the biggest danger for you is that you can't get this man, like a rotten peach. You are doomed to fellowship with him, his presence next to you, and it is dangerous for you on the telepathic level, because at this level he makes discomfort in your general condition. From him in your direction takes place unnecessary bioenergy flows, and you felt it by sixth sense, intuition. But the saddest thing in this case for you, it is something you can't do with this nor what to do, as in the case of the patch. You have to take something else to protect yourself, but what? That is the question. With regard to positive emotion, in its really little part, 3 times less than negative emotions, and so the base created us, and this is done intentionally. Due to the lack of positive emotions, we try to find something good. We are abolishing the death penalty, create favorable conditions in prisons, trying to find justification for the most horrible actions, and all of this happening precisely because of lacking. It's very simple. This is identical to what if we do not eat up, we don't have enough energy, and we want to eat. As a result, we are looking for food all the time. And think about it. If we want to drink, we are looking for water. If we want to sleep, we are all the time sleepy. The same thing happens with positive emotions. We miss them, so we are trying to find something good, even in the bad stuff. Misfortune, hardship, we have pretty much of that crap, and we are not trying to get even more. But the concepts of good and bad in some parts differ for certain people or groups of people, so these phenomena lead to conflicts. There's different conflicts, small, local or global. Minor conflict is the level of neighbors in the stairwell. Local conflict, this is when the local government is at war with the state for some reason. And the global conflict is something like the Crusades, on the basis of religious took an instant dislike, or world wars on the basis of ambitious, racial or national. The scale of the conflict depends on number of people in these groups, for whom these concepts are due to social, financial or religious perceptions differ. No matter how much time we exist, we will always fight each other, we will always hate each other, envy and wish for evil, to curse, to insult and gloat, and all this we will do in the part that the percentage of good in any time does not exceed 25%. But also, we will tirelessly strive to rise this level to 25%. So we were made by the Lord God, who gave us this relentless commitment, and we will always continue to do so. And that is what calls us Film the Secret. Film the Secret, in this regard, something like the PSA, the goal of its creation, to encourage us to continually raise the bar of goodness, and to always think positive. Quote from the movie The Secret.
So the more you can feel good, the more you will attract the things that help you feel good and will keep bringing you up higher.
End quote. And as soon as our victories will be crowned with success in some more or less descent scale, base will do so that will start new wars, conflicts, financial crises, global cataclysms. Rest assured that the base will never allow us to raise the bar of goodness higher than the minimum. Until there is an emotional unity and struggle of opposites, we are developing on. Our geometrical development goes ahead. And all this is because each of us wants to live better than another, because our rivalry pushes us forward in a spiral of progress. The second main component of our development is that we are physically mortal. Our life is very short, it is incredibly short, and each of us wants to feel with their 5 senses as much as possible. These two reasons, the unity and struggle of opposites in emotional determination, and our short life moves us to the peak of our development. When we reach this peak and then comes the so-called second coming, our mission will be accomplished and many of us will start to work on next. We were created on this earth to accomplish a specific mission, and we will fulfill it, because this is what we are created by the base. There is no other way. As for the mission itself, that is the plot of another film, and not short. We consist of a physical body and external environment. The external environment is the so-called our soul, which during the whole of our life is near us. And only after our brain dies, the external environment goes to the warehouse of the base, and waiting for his further fate. The external environment can be almost immediately reincarnated, can wait before the reincarnation of unlimited duration, and may simply be stored in the warehouse of the base. base, to the so-called second coming. Areas of our limited and unlimited consciousness controls our brain. Our brain is like the CPU in the computer, but the power of the processors used in the computers is limited to some conditions, and the power of our brain is not limited at all. To control the scope of our limited consciousness is not even 1% of the entire capacity of our brain. It's not 10% or even 3% according to many pundits. The real figure is below 1%. Let's apply the convention to continue the narration. Roughly speaking, only 1% of the capacity of our brain controls the 5 organs of our senses and everything that happens to our physical body, and the rest of the brain is 99%, controls our unlimited consciousness. Our external environment is something like hard disk and RAM of the computer. The hard drive is already recorded everything that happened to us in all past lives and writes everything that happens in this, and memory provides operational impact on the region's limited consciousness to commit us to certain actions for a scheduled basis or perform some actions with our limited consciousness if we change the destiny, expanding its limited consciousness due to unlimited. For a more complete idea of the capacity of our brain, I'll give you the following example. You all know what Google search engine is. Every day search engines of Google come in all the sites in the world, absolutely in all, on tens, hundreds and thousands of times a day, depending on the update rate of these sites. They do this in order to record all information from these sites on servers of Google Search. Google is building entire cities for maintenance of their server centers. The volume of servers Google, it is impossible to estimate the millions of terabytes. Google servers store information from servers all over the world. When you type in the search box of Google kind of search phrase, Google immediately finds it on their servers and gives you tens of thousands of pages to choose in a certain order depending on revelation phrases and the popularity of search phrases. Google finds all of this himself, and only after you click on the link that Google throws you, do you feel the power of the processors which for a split second handle billions of terabytes of information. I want to tell you that the opportunity of capacity of Google processors is only a very small, incredibly small fraction of the power of the one person's brain. Your brain is more powerful than the entire processor system Google to millions, if not billions of times. You'd be surprised, but 99% of your brain support the area of your unlimited consciousness in the external environment and always involved. It controls the bioenergy flows, their links, and all the processes taking place inside of your external environment and beyond. And all of this is overwhelmingly in the interests of the base. Everything that happens to you happens only for 2 reasons. The first reason, you just think. The second reason is because you think as necessary to control your own destiny. If you think simply, all the way happens with you is planned by the base. That is, you live on a pre-planned fate. There is only one principle that works for you. You can't fight with the fate. If you think as necessary to control the destiny, that is in principle the second point, what seemed just impossible. Quote from the movie The Secret.
And that principle can be summed up in 3 simple words. Thoughts become things.
End quote. First of all, exactly the same as you during mental activity or emotional existment radiate bioenergy flows as do all living people, but someone does it more and someone less. And all of these bioenergy flows emerging from one of the bioenergy environment come or don't come in other bioenergetical environment, depending on certain circumstances, form or do not form in the bioenergetical environments and between bioenergy connections. And this is happening or not depends on certain circumstances. But these circumstances are created by your conscious thinking process. It is from that you think goes into your bioenergetical environment. Desired flow or your environment will close the entrance of no need stream for you. It is on how and what you think will generate your external environment, emerging from its bioenergetical flows of important power, content and direction, namely to the extent that is necessary in the interest of your lifestyle and achieve your goals you need. Quote from the movie The Secret.
The correlation between what you're feeling and thinking and what's coming back to you. Before you know it, you will know that you are the creator of your own reality.
End quote. Our external environment is arranged in such a way that is happening all the process of the generation and regeneration lag out bioenergetical flows, which creation is initiated by our mental and emotional processes. It also controlled at the necessary and unnecessary to us bioenergetical threads, created external environments of other living people. Operating the processor that managed all the events in our external environment is our unlimited consciousness. That is exactly 99% of our brain we have not managed and works strictly in the interest of the base. We will discuss only the threats that are the product of exactly the living. In our external environment, there are two main processes. The first is to identify the entrants. The second is the generation and regeneration of output. What it is, the input identification for our unlimited consciousness has no concept of good and bad incoming bioenergetic flows. It is some concept is their concept of the other. We are available to recognize the fullness of the stream in its content. More accurately can be described as need the streets to us or not. We need in principle two streams of content. We cannot in principle exist if we will go flows only good content or streams only to poor maintenance in the definition of our limited consciousness. That is the part of our brain which amount to only 1%. This is the same as the magnetic field with positive or negative and cannot exist separately. And we, for the normal functioning of our entire system in the field of limited and unlimited consciousness, we need both incoming and outgoing flows. It is of two grades. That is, we by the default are not able to generate only positive threats or only negative flows. Same thing with the input identification. We need some flows and opposite to them flows. In this case, we are identical to the magnet. We cannot either attract or repel. We definitely need two charges, otherwise our existence would be impossible. Otherwise, leave the basic principle of unity and struggle of opposites, and how many and which at its opposites should be threats on the inlet or outlet. This determines our limited consciousness, depending on the whole of our essence and, of course, our needs. And that our limited consciousness is able to determine, do we need this incoming stream, whatever content he is, or not? Flows generated by the external environments of other living people necessarily looking for an entire point, but I'm not going to explain the principles of search streams entire points of the environment. It will require a lot of extra time. The main thing is that any thread looking for entire point, stream knocking on our external environment and tries to get into it. The external environment also has certain protective properties. Basic healthy ability of our external environment is that would stop the flow at the entrance. Do not let it go straight and obstructive, and connect to him a field of unlimited consciousness. After the flow connected himself to the region of unlimited consciousness, this is the area which controls 99% of our brain. The last ask from the field of our limited consciousness. It is that 1% of our brain which controls the 5 organs of our senses. The main question, should I put this threat or not? In this case, if our limited consciousness can determine the fullness of this threat, the identity of a particular person, to determine the identity of this person and understand, do we need a stream of this content or, in general, do we need all coming flows from him? Only after that our limited consciousness responds to the request of unlimited consciousness. For example, like this. This stream is no needed. Let in just opposite one. Simply put, you are arguing with someone, knowing that he is not big in mental development. From him in your direction are a continuous maths. You can clearly identify him that he is sick and weak-minded, and what he says is bullshit. In this case, there was a great identification of the negative streams for you. We have identified negative threats that will come into your environment just as much as you need to use them to your advantage. Absolutely the same situation going on with positive flows. The point in this case is the same. In our external bioenergy environment should come as much negative or positive flows in content as we need. That is, all identified incoming streams will be used in our interests. But the thing is that our limited consciousness so little that we cannot identify even a few of those threats, which are part of our external environment. We are so simply unable to do so. We don't know all the people, and even a small part of those faced every day, at home, at work, in public transport, in shops, in movies, on the streets, and so on. And all these people, just as we do, generate bioenergy streams of different content. And all of these streets are our environment at the entire point, and enter into it as unidentified. Yes, exactly. If your unlimited consciousness, when connected to the included in streams environments, has requested your limited consciousness to enter the threat or ban on his entry and have not received nor any response to the request. Unlimited consciousness categorically admits this threat, but to use it in your interests, in the interests of playing base in relations to you, your limited consciousness physically just not able to identify all the streams that you are knocking, and all unidentified bioenergy flows that are running in your environment becomes fuel for your database management. It is one of two major secrets that you never tell in the movie and nor in a book. How to manage bioenergical flows that come from other environments. How to identify as a lot of these threats. The more threats at the enter you identify, the more used it is in your best interest. And this is a partial control of its destiny that is happening to you in exactly what you want. Summary: each identified flaw at the inlet is then used. It is in your best interests. There is one of the basic conditions control your destiny. Generation and regeneration of output. Generative activity of your external environment. Generative activity of your external environment is your ability to radiate the bioenergetical flows after logging in other external environment will work in your best interest. Whenever you are thinking about something, your limited consciousness creates the mechanism for the transformation of your thoughts in electromagnetic waves, so-called bioenergy flows. Leaving your external environment, your threat definitely looks for an entire point. There is other external environment in which it needs to go for, and he will do it. Otherwise, its output will be meaningless. Your threats generate activity to other external environment are the incoming flows. The external environment of others are absolutely identical to your external environment, and they are trying to identify your output flows. Your task is that you should be able to create threats on the field of the desired content for these flows by assessing the internal environment of others, created the bioenergy context, which will continue to work for you. The thing is that how, in terms of content, the effluent will be, depends on your limited consciousness. That is 1% of your brain which you control. It is your limited consciousness give the command to your unlimited consciousness, which stream their content must generate, your external environment. Your meaningful outgoing flow control will bring you the desired results. It is those threats that are filled with your meaningful work in the future. It is in your best interest. And this is not to say that everything you consciously filled output flows must bear only positive in your understanding of the content. It is absolutely not true. The output as input must be filled with complex in its content. By default, you can't generate streams of only one content, just like and filter them in the same way at the entrance. You should fill them intelligently, as good in the understanding of the content and for bad. But here's what their content more and no less depends on your emotional state and, of course, about all, on the circumstances in which you at the moment its generative activity are. There's a concept of generative and regenerative activity. Generative activity is to generate streams of your production. That is those threats that you have created with your own mental efforts. Regenerative activity is the case when you use the right opportunity for you from other people, and these possibilities can be completely different in their content, within the meaning of the name of your limited consciousness. That is the kind of situation where you identified on the entrance, increase and generate its output with the same content. When you use the principle why invent a new one when you can use that time-tested old? This is the second of the two main sacraments, which is silent. All is known, the movie The Secret. To change your destiny and be able to manage it to your advantage, you must have certain skills of thinking on the level of limited awareness. It is necessary to ensure that would clearly and intelligently manage the input identification and generation, regeneration output. Having acquired these skills, you will receive a unique opportunity to control your own destiny. That is always everywhere, and it full and arrive at state of happiness. Quote from the movie The Secret.
And I'm trying to point out that whatever your circumstances right now, that is only your current reality.
End quote. How to think and what to think about that would correctly identify incoming into your environment by energy flows. What are your thoughts? What would the fullness of the output streams contain the optimal destiny? How to think? What would you power output streams reach the desired level? This is the essence of the ordinances referred to into the movie The Secret. This secret process certain people. It is very simple to identify these people. This does not mean that they are rich, successful or famous. They are exactly the same same as you. They are ordinary people, but they have one distinguishing feature, and this feature immediately noticed all the others. These people just happy, and they do not know about their abilities. All they do is what they think correctly, but they do it automatically and unconsciously by their own limited consciousness. A meaningful level of control all these processes are available in its units, and it is always be a mystery. Though actually it's really very simple. So simple that even you can do this. The only important condition is that this should be done systematically and not to forget about it. You don't forget to eat, drink or sleep, you can't forget it, because you know that if you don't do it, you will die. You really feel limits on the field of consciousness. If it comes out of your systematic action, you feel hunger, thirst, fatigue. Absolutely everything happens similarly in the system and controlling destiny. It is necessary to think always in the format you want and do it consistently and systematically. If you're not going to do this, fate will leave your control in other hands, to the base. But you will not feel it, because it is intuition and it is located in the management area of unlimited consciousness, the free connection with which you are not subject to. All the difference, the process control area of limited consciousness and the sphere of unlimited consciousness in the senses. The limited area of consciousness you feel, and the area is not limited consciousness is not, and this is important. Many of us even say the vast majority, where much does not work. We live not as we would like. Sorrows and failures hunt us on the hills, and each of us always want to find some explanation. Immediately we come up with an excuse that someone put us on some kind of a spell, the evil eye, or even worse, cursed us. I am not going to reject all these concepts. All of this is really present in our lives, but it's very sporadic. Each of us are to blame for their failures, troubles, problems and misfortunes. What is blight? Damage is forcibly loaded into your bioenergy environment, adversely affecting you and bioenergy flow. It can be seen from the outer space. This threat can't just exist. It is necessary to constantly maintain with the side on which it is loaded. Yes, such cases are, and it is not uncommon. But in comparison with the overwhelming majority of problems which arise, this is just a very small fraction. If you have problems, first of all, you choose to let into your environment everything that is not in your best interest. Simply put, everything that went into your environment not identified by you. For you is the damage, because everything is used and it may not be in your best interest. Same thing with the generation output. If you feel the threat that came from you, not by the content that you want, you educated it, it is always work against you. This is a program that works consistently and will always work. That's all the explanation. Neither the damage nor the evil eye or curse guilty in your failure. First of all, it's your fault. Let's look at the process of controlling the fate of a specific example taken from the movie The Secret.
The simplest way for me to look at the law of attraction is if I think of myself as a magnet.
Very basically put, the law of attraction says that like attracts like, but we're really talking at a level of thought.
End quote. First of all, the authors of the film The Secret in the statement make a huge mistake, contrary to the real laws of physics. Not when such does not attract like. If we are talking about magnets, the magnet really attracts a magnet, but in a very magnet has a plus and a minus. It is inevitable, otherwise it would not be a magnet. It is only in the event magnets are arranged to each other with different poles. They are attracted only when the negative charge side of the magnet is deployed to the positively charged side of the another magnet. Plus attracts minus and vice versa. But if you turn the magnets to each other, advantage part is changed or negative charged, they will invariably push off. So if to go deeper into the issue, exactly like repels like, and not only on the example of the magnets. In the case of our thoughts, everything is completely analogous, and this is the whole principle of controlling destiny. If we consider the example of purchasing a car, it is as follows. I want a car, and every time I think about it, I am visualizing my future car, and as I am a magnet, I attract this car. Everything seems correct. A car is made from iron, and I'm the magnet. Anyway, as I charge and from which side I have a plus, and which side parties I have minus. Machine is from iron and has the property of attraction. The car is not alive, and I can turn her for positive or negative side, but such a consideration is very primitive. Now consider the same situation in a more realistic format. The car that I want has her owner, and this owner is a living person. That is, it is the same magnet as I am, and can be deployed by any of the parties depending on their internal beliefs. If I want that car, that is in the salon. The salon has the owner or director. They also manage magnets because they are real people like me. Car is worth $100,000 and my annual income is $10,000. I have a year to buy a car. I have planned so. I need to convince the owner of the car to reduce the cost to $10,000 or convince my employer to raise my salary from $10,000 per year to $100,000 a year. It's not real, and I again set myself a mental goal more real, to convince the seller of the machine to reduce its cost from $100,000 to $50,000, and my employer to convince him to increase my salary from $10,000 to $50,000. I can draw a car. I can only be attracted to the favor of these two people, from which depends on achievement of my goal. If I gain their favor, then of course I could convince them to perform certain actions in my direction. I needed to achieve a specific result. How to reach their favor? The fact of the matter that it is in the stage the law of attraction works. We don't drag the items or actions. We are not extending the rest on the island or cheap airfare. We can mentally draw the people from whom it all depends. If my content in the field of limited consciousness is such that at the time of communication with the owner of the car, I deploy to it by positive side and feel that his side is positive too. I'm trying to mental performing certain mental activities. Deploy him to myself at minus side. I feel that I'm good at it and continue doing the same. Feeling of the interlocutor to me all the great. This means that he is amenable to me telepathic influence in the sphere of unlimited consciousness. That is, I correctly identify the sign with his hand and in the right format feel the required content. I did it in the right amount and an optimal capacity. The interlocutor completely gets the right direction of its turning and finally turns to me its minus. And I completely draw to myself on a subtle level. What do I get? My companion turned to me with the same charge as me, but I totally came to reduce the cost of the car up to $50,000 from $100,000. I wouldn't be satisfied even with the price of $55,000 because I still don't have enough even virtual money to buy it. But the caller who did not want to hear about the reducing the price by even $1 has reduced the price for me to $50,000. Summary: I turned the person on the subtle level through the telepathic side. Effects contained the necessary charge for me, pulled it and got the desired result. So the problem with lowering the price of the car I actually decided on a subtle level by the method of telepathic influence. I was really drawn to the same magnet as I do, that is to consider the problem of the material and physical level. But at a subtle level I entered himself to the man and got the desired result. Now I need to do the same operation with my employer. I act according to the same scheme, but whatever I do, I feel that the expanding the employer's right to the his pole, I absolutely can't. The employer is not as supple as the owner of the car. The employer is strong on a subtle level as me and doesn't want to turn needed side to me with the good intentions. But I have the advantage in his battle with the employer on a subtle level. The employer is competing with me doing everything on a subconscious level. That is, he so arranged it is well. I am able to control destiny, but he doesn't know how he does it. So are all of its systems in the field of limited and unlimited consciousness. He is a strong man. All the lifetime he unfolds another pole to the opponent. He is strong and always keeps the position, and the opponent can only break it. But it can do only a strong opponent. Only a strong opponent is able to suppress the resistance of the external environment and to forcibly load the desire by energy flow. Thus it will deploy my employer of the necessary charge. The opponent must be stronger than my employer. I can break the position of my employer because I don't have such facilities on a subtle level. But I consciously control my own destiny and not subconsciously. So I stop on the subject of turning my employer to a desired pole and I unfold myself from him in a pole which is necessary for our attraction, not an important method by which I achieve the desired result. Yes, my employer is stronger than me on a subtle level, so he is my employer and I am his employee. In this case, I lost the battle. I obeyed the employer himself and turned to him with the right pole. But this is what I drew like a magnet, endeared my employer himself to me, and as a result I have raised the salary to $50,000 per year. And actually 1 year later, when I lost a battle, I won the war. I achieved my goal. I bought a cherished car. Our life consists not only of victories, it is lots of defeats. To be able to control our own destiny and be happy regardless of all that surrounds you is the ability ability to extract all we need for our happiness of victories and defeats. The state of happiness is the harmonious coexistence in man good and bad. In the beginning of the movie I was talking about what the ratio of good and evil in our world corresponds 25 to 75 in percentage, and its average numbers. To be happy in the personal percentage is to achieve result 50-50, and only in this case you will absolutely be happy. I won't lie and say that increasing your personal bar in the direction of more than 25%, you take some happiness from someone else. More primitively, if you somehow learn to control your fate and rate the bar of positive emotions with 25% to 75%, remember, a certain number of people, this figure has now dropped on 2% to 23%. In a general result, the ratio always is age 25 to 75%. Accordingly, if someone rises, someone decreases. It is a natural principle, the total volumetric integrity of one system. Each person should first of all think about himself, to strive for better, to improve his personal self-education and self-awareness and so on. And all this leads to a positive result for each of his understanding. Of course, that isn't the case. I do not consider pity and compassion, charity and philanthropy. All of this is very small, a tiny fraction of the total volume of the emotional content of mankind. All this doesn't impact the overall course of events. You'll be happy only if you'll make happy yourselves and not count on others. Let the neighbors take care of their own destiny. Every man himself is the creation of his destiny, and it didn't come from me. This is a postulate, and no one will argue with that, because this postulate is shared by all religions in the world. Remember this, always and everywhere.